Hey folks, welcome back to the Online Basketball Academy. And in today's video, we are going to look at three passing basketball drills that basically teach the fundamentals of passing, but are also fun and help keep your athletes engaged. So these drills are, basically for younger players. We're looking at drills for players that are learning the basics, learning the fundamentals of passing. So it's not really for older players. They're basically ways to kind of spice things up, and like I said, make things more fun for your younger age groups. Now, if you do have an older age group that knows the fundamentals of passing, and you want to have a little bit of a warm-up drill for them, a lot of these drills could be used there as well. But mainly these drills are anywhere from first grade to sixth grade, used there for players that are learning those basic passing fundamentals. But again, we want to keep things fun for them. So the first drill that we're going to look at today is based on having your players moving as they're catching and receiving the pass. So this drill, like I said, is basically for your younger age groups, anywhere from kindergarten, grade 1, all the way up until maybe elementary school, wherever you have an older age group that is participating. But this drill, like I said, is bringing in some movement into your basic passing drills. When a lot of coaches teach passing at a young age, they often have players standing still and just catching and receiving the pass. And although that is fine to learn the fundamentals, it often gets boring for the youth athlete. So in this situation, we're allowing a little bit of movement in there while we're teaching those fundamentals. So assuming you have around 9 players on your team, this is how we'd set up in 3 lines. So I have it separated in 3 different sets of pairs. So this blue group is a group of 3. This red group is a group of 3. This purple group is a group of 3. And if you had more players, you could bring them down here, have them, continue down the court. So essentially, we're going to start with the player in the middle having the basketball. Now that player is going to take 1 or 2 dribbles to about right here. Because again, this is a youth group, so we're not anticipating that they're going to be able to throw, extremely long passes, but they're going to take 1 or 2 dribbles. And as they're doing that, they're going to step into a good firm pass to number 1 here. So number 1 is ready. They have their arms out to receive the pass. That's always a vocal point that you want to teach as well, is how to receive the pass, which is just as important. And then giving the pass, you want to have a target up, you want to have a clear target. So that's the focus of number 1. But number 2 is a little bit of movement, and they step into the pass it to number 1. So as that happens, number 2 is going to follow their pass, and number 2 is going to come behind number 1 and take the spot of number 1. So now number 1 has the basketball. They're then going to dribble with the basketball all the way over here to where number 3 is, and they're going to give them a good firm pass as well. Now, you might be focusing on chest passes to start. So let's say we're focusing on chest passes. Like I said, number 3 is giving a good target, hands up. Number 1's giving them a pass. Number 3 then comes and takes their spot in the back of the line. Okay, now number 3 has the basketball. They're doing the same thing with the basketball in their hand until they get to a good point where they feel comfortable passing that ball. Usually at a younger age group, it's about right here. At that point, number 2 is giving a good firm target, like we said, and number 3 steps into the pass. So you probably start this one with a chest pass as the first primary focus. Again, you want to highlight for the receiver of the pass to have their arms up, have their hands up to receive the basketball. And your emphasis on the passer would be to step into that pass and make sure it's a firm pass to the target. As you continue with chest passing, you can incorporate bounce passing in there as well. And the drill would run the same way. So this is just a little bit more of an energized version of, just standing still and learning the fundamentals, but also a next step with that because you're adding some movement in here as well, which makes it a little bit more fun for the players. Additionally, you could put on some music during this time, some light music to energize your players. Again, it's just a fun way to learn those basics, learn those fundamentals of passing without just standing still. The next drill that we're going to look at is set up the same way, and this one is called monkey in the middle. So as we see here, we have our players lined up in the exact same way as we did in the last drill. We're in a line of three. Again, we can continue this down the court, down here if we need to, if we have multiple groups. But this one's pretty self-explanatory. It's named monkey in the middle. And it can be a natural progression after that last drill to kind of make things a little bit more fun for the youth athletes. So say, for example, you ran that pass drill continuously for about 5 or 6 minutes. You noticed that your players were understanding, the fundamentals of passing. They were ready to move on to something different, and you want to keep things fun and entertaining for them. This is a natural progression, and it's named monkey in the middle. And like I said, it's pretty self-explanatory. These three players are basically playing monkey in the middle. So number 2 is trying to get the ball to number 1, and vice versa, while this person in the middle, or this person in the middle in the red group, this person in the middle in the purple group, they're trying to steal the basketball, play defense, have their arms nice and wide. It's also good for that reason for this middle group is they're working on another great skill that's very important in the game of basketball, which is defense. Now, as I told you, you're going to have all three groups going at once. So the passes can't be extremely wide or anything like that. They still had to be pretty tight. But number 2 and number 1 on this side and this side, they're trying to get the ball over here. Now, as we can see, obviously the numbers are a little bit messed up here, but that's okay. In comparison to these two lines, it doesn't really matter too much there. So number 2, trying to get a good pass. Number 3 is trying to steal that basketball. So they can do that however they want to. If they want to play a close-up defense and try to block it that way, have their hands up, they can do that. If they want to try to play a game where they're kind of staying back and trying to intercept the pass, they can do that too. Their primary focus is having their hands up, making their hands nice and wide. They can also try to guard the player back here to intercept the pass. It's really up to them how they want to do it, right? So say, they're coming up here and playing strong defense on them. Number 1's probably going to want to move up a bit. So, you might be able to get a good strong bounce pass over here to number 1. Number 3 is going to come close out. Right now we're a little bit closer again. Maybe number 2 is going to be over here. Okay, we have a good strong chest pass over here. Or maybe it would make more sense for them to go right here and a good strong chest pass from 1 to 2. I don't know. But however, it is, like I said, a natural progression. It's monkey in the middle, just like the game you'd play, growing up as a kid, but with a basketball. And then if you find that number 3, or the person in the middle rather, isn't able to steal that basketball, after about 2 minutes, you can tell the group to switch and put a new monkey in the middle. So again, this game, it's a natural progression. You just learn the basic fundamentals doing that last drill where you were lined up the same way. You got some movement in there. Now you can kind of make it a little bit more fun for the kids to incorporate a little bit of a game in there while they're still practicing the fundamentals that they just learned. The final drill that we're going to look at in terms of youth basketball passing is basically getting them to move in a full court setting while shuffling and passing the basketball. So this one's pretty easy going. If you have multiple players in the gym, say you have a team of, say, 10 people, you'll have them kind of start in a line out of bounds. So we'll add in a couple more players here, 3 here, 4 here, and all that's going to happen. It's pretty easy going. Your number 1, your number 2, and then, vice versa with number 3, number 4. They're just going to shuffle down the court while passing the basketball back and forth to each other, right? So they're going to be shuffling in a defensive stance. They're still pretty close together, but they're passing that ball back and forth. Again, you could be working on your bounce pass. You could be working on your chest pass, whatever that may be. It's fine. Your players are pretty close together. They're still learning those fundamentals of passing. They're just incorporating some movement in there as well. Now, as the first group of players gets to, say, the foul line or the three-point line, as they're continuing to shuffle, the next group will then go. So say 3 and 4 will then go. They're passing the ball back and forth to each other as they move down the court. Same thing, 1 and 2, they're still moving. It's just continuous, right? We're moving down the court. We're passing the ball. Still happening. 3 or 4, they're doing the same thing. They're moving down the court, passing the ball. You could add in here now, say a 5 and a 6. Your next group of players, everybody's moving down the court in a defensive shuffle, just passing the ball back and forth. Now, you will notice, actually, just like I'm doing right now, you'll notice youth basketball players actually tend to get a little bit wider, or they'll get really close together. So you just want to kind of remind them. Maybe you can set up some cones or something up and down the floor of where they want to stand as they continue passing that ball back and forth, right? Again, this group's going to move up as well. They're continuing to pass the ball back and forth. Now, you can do this for a little bit. If you want to kind of spice things up, say you did it for about, 3 or 4 minutes, your team is getting the hang of it. You can always add in something at the half court. So what I like to add right away is when they get to half court, number 1 stops with the ball, number 2 cuts. So we're going to pass to them now on a move, just to show them, okay, this is how we pass, when we're moving. We want to hit the person ahead rather than, where they are, so the ball doesn't go behind them. We want to hit it ahead of them where they're going to be, right? So you can almost kind of teach them that, teach them the feel of passing. So then number 2 can go up for an easy layup. Number 1 would go down there with them to get the rebound, and then both would kind of clear off the court. So that's something you could do if your team is a little bit more advanced. Number 1 and number 2 could play one-on-one here. Like say maybe a 10-second one-on-one or something like that. But I don't like to complicate things too much, especially with a drill this simple. The most I typically ever do in there is kind of have number 1 wait around a little bit, number 2 cut, feed them the ball, like I said, so they can understand how to pass the ball ahead of somebody on the move so they can receive that basketball in their hand.